You've owned a .357 Magnum for years, maybe decades. You've loaded it, fired it, cleaned it, carried it. You know the recoil, you know the muzzle flash. You think you know the cartridge, you don't. And by the time this is over, you'll look at the gun in your safe differently. The first thing most 357 owners don't know is how their cartridge got its name. The 357 Magnum fires a bullet that measures 355 inches in diameter, not 357, 355. The same diameter as a .38 Special, the same diameter as a .38 Long Colt, the same diameter as a .38 Short Colt. The 357 in the name refers to the groove diameter of the barrel, the measurement across the bottom of the rifling grooves. The bullet itself is a 355 caliber projectile. The .38 Special is also a 355 caliber projectile. The 357 Magnum and the .38 Special fire the exact same bullet, same diameter, same weight options, same manufacturers making the same projectiles for both cartridges. The only difference is the case length. The 357 case is an eighth of an inch longer than the .38 Special. That extra eighth of an inch holds more powder. More powder means more velocity. That's the entire ballistic distinction between the two cartridges. Smith and Wesson made the 357 case longer on purpose so that a 357 Magnum round cannot physically chamber in a .38 Special revolver. Safety by dimension. If the cases were the same length, someone would eventually load a Magnum pressure round into a gun rated for standard pressure, and the gun would come apart. The extra eighth of an inch prevents that, but a .38 Special round fits perfectly in a 357 Magnum cylinder, which means every 357 Magnum revolver ever manufactured is also a .38 Special revolver and a .38 Short Colt revolver. One gun, 3 cartridges, one of them costs 15 cents per round at the range. Subscribe. The second thing involves the man who started the Magnum era, and he killed a walrus with the prototype to prove it worked. Douglas B. Wesson was the vice president of Smith & Wesson in the early 1930s. He worked with gunwriter Phil Sharp and the legendary Elmer Keith to develop a higher pressure version of the .38 Special that could defeat the car doors and primitive body armor that Prohibition-era gangsters were using. The result was the 357 Magnum, introduced in 1935. Wesson didn't just announce the cartridge and let the market decide. He traveled across North America, personally hunting with the prototype revolver: deer, antelope, moose, and a walrus. The vice president of Smith & Wesson shot a walrus with a handgun in the 1930s to prove his new cartridge had enough penetration for dangerous game. That's how the 357 Magnum was marketed, not with ballistic charts, with a dead walrus. And every revolver in the first production run was individually serialized with a registration number stamped inside the frame, separate from the gun's serial number. Buyers received a registration card from Smith & Wesson after purchase. They called it the Registered Magnum, custom barrel lengths, custom sights, every gun built to order. In 1935, during the Great Depression, a 90-year-old registered Magnum sold at Rock Island auction in May 2025 for over $17,000. The third thing's the one that changes what the 357 Magnum actually is. Put the same 125 grain Remington hollow point through a 4-inch revolver and an 18-inch lever action carbine. From the revolver, it runs 1,442 feet per second and 537 foot-pounds. From the carbine, The same cartridge runs 2,038 feet per second and 1,153 foot-pounds. Read those numbers again. The same round, the same cartridge. From the Carbine, the velocity increases 41%. The energy increases 98%. Nearly doubles. A .357 Magnum from an 18-inch lever gun produces over 1,000 foot-pounds of energy. That puts it in the same range as a .30-30 Winchester from a short barrel. A pistol caliber producing rifle energy. With hand-loaded 125 grain, the numbers are even more dramatic. 1,300 feet per second from the revolver. 1,937 from the Carbine. A 49% velocity increase and a 122% energy increase. The lever action doesn't just boost the .357 Magnum, it transforms it into a different cartridge entirely. A lever action .357 Magnum carbine with a 16 to 18-inch barrel is a legitimate 100-yard deer rifle. A legitimate hog rifle. A legitimate home defense carbine that hits harder than any pistol caliber semi-auto on the market, and it feeds from the same box of ammunition as the revolver on your nightstand. Subscribe. The fourth thing is about barrel length, and it's the one that turns the .357 Magnum's reputation into a lie for most of the people carrying it. A 158-grain .357 Magnum from a 6-inch barrel runs about 1,300 feet per second. From a 4-inch barrel, about 1,200. From a 3-inch barrel, about 1,100. From a 2-inch snub nose, roughly 950 to 1,000. At 1,000 feet per second, a 158-grain bullet produces 351 foot-pounds of energy. A standard 9mm from a full-size pistol produces 364. The .357 Magnum from a snub-nose revolver is ballistically weaker than a 9mm from a Glock 17. Every claim about the .357's stopping power, every chart that puts it ahead of the 9mm, every argument that it's a Magnum cartridge, is based on data from 4-inch or 6-inch barrels. The moment you drop below 4 inches, the .357 loses the velocity that makes it a Magnum and becomes a loud, flashy .38 Special with more recoil. If you carry a .357 Magnum snub nose for self-defense, you are carrying the reputation of a 6-inch gun in a 2-inch package. The cartridge doesn't know it's a Magnum when the barrel is too short to burn the powder. The fifth thing is about recoil. It explains why your groups open up after a box of Magnum loads. .357 Magnum produces about 9 foot-pounds of recoil energy. 45 ACP produces about 6 foot-pounds. But the numbers alone don't explain why the .357 feels so much sharper than calibers with similar energy. The .357's recoil impulse is concentrated in a very short duration. The high-pressure gas exits the barrel quickly, and the gun snaps upward in a fast whip. A 45 ACP pushes the gun backward in a slower, rolling motion. Same general intensity, different speed the .357 slaps. The 45 shoves. That snappy recoil develops flinch faster than any other common handgun caliber. Flinch is an anticipatory contraction of the muscles in your hand, wrist, and forearm the instant before the gun fires. It pulls your shots low and left if you're right-handed, and it builds unconsciously. A shooter who fires 50 rounds of Magnum loads in a session will have measurably worse accuracy on rounds 40 through 50 than on rounds 1 through 10. He doesn't notice the flinch developing because flinch is invisible to the person experiencing it. The fix is the third cartridge in your cylinder. Load 38 Special for 80% of your range time. Load Magnum for 20%. Your hands stay sharp without building the flinch that Magnum Recoil installs over time. Subscribe. The sixth thing is about the 357 Magnum's muzzle flash. And it's worse than you think. The 357 Magnum produces the most dramatic muzzle flash of any common handgun cartridge. From a snub nose at night, the fireball extends 6 to 12 inches past the muzzle. That flash temporarily destroys your night-adapted vision. In a low-light defensive encounter, the most likely scenario for home defense, firing a 357 Magnum indoors without a light temporarily blinds you to the threat's location after the first shot. The flash is caused by unburnt powder igniting after it leaves the barrel. Magnum powder charges are designed for longer barrels. In a snub nose, the barrel is too short to burn all the powder before the bullet exits. The remaining powder combusts in open air, creating a fireball that illuminates your position and eliminates your ability to see. Lower flash powders exist. Federal's American Eagle reduced flash loads address the problem. But if you're loading standard 357 Magnum ammunition in a snub nose for home defense, you should fire a cylinder of it in darkness at least once. The flash will change how you think about what's in your bedside gun. The seventh thing is about a specific load that changed handgun ammunition forever, and the version most shooters know is running at 60% of its potential. The original FBI load in .38 Special, the Winchester 158 grain lead semi-wadcutter hollow point in +P, gained its reputation from extensive testing and field use in the 1970s and the early 1980s. It was considered the gold standard for revolver stopping power. That exact same bullet, the 158 grain LSW CHP, loaded to 357 Magnum velocities, is an entirely different animal. At 1,300 feet per second instead of 850, the same bullet expands more aggressively, penetrates deeper, and transfers energy more violently. The .38 Special version, everyone references as the peak of revolver performance, is the same bullet performing at 60% of its potential. The full-pressure version in 357 Magnum is what that projectile was designed to do at maximum capacity. If you carry a 357 Magnum and you've never loaded the 158 grain LSWCHP at full Magnum velocity, you're running the same engine as the best .38 Special load, but with the throttle held back. The eighth thing is about what happens when a 357 Magnum exits a human body. At Magnum velocities from a 4-inch or longer barrel, the 357 Magnum routinely over-penetrates in defensive gel tests, 18 to 20 inches. Through a human chest cavity front to back, the bullet exits. Every foot-pound of energy that leaves through the exit wound is energy that didn't contribute to stopping the threat. It went into whatever was behind the attacker, a wall, a door, a family member. The 45 ACP penetrates 12 inches and stops inside the body. The 9mm penetrates 15 and usually stops. The 357 Magnum goes through and keeps going. For home defense, this matters. The 357 Magnum is one of the most effective handgun cartridges ever designed for open-air defensive encounters. But inside a house, every round that exits a body is a round that can enter a room you didn't intend to shoot into. The same penetration that makes it effective on car doors makes it dangerous behind drywall. Subscribe. The ninth thing is about the revolver platform itself, and it might be the most important one. Press the muzzle of a semi-auto into a body and pull the trigger. The slide pushes back from contact pressure. The gun goes out of battery. Dead trigger. Nothing fires. Press the muzzle of your 357 Magnum revolver into the same surface. Pull the trigger. The cylinder rotates. The hammer drops. The gun fires. Every time. No semi-automatic pistol in any caliber can match this mechanical advantage. At contact distance on the ground, with a threat on top of you, the revolver fires and the semi-auto doesn't. This isn't theoretical. Defensive shooting instructors teach contact shots because ground fights happen, and the only platform guaranteed to function at zero distance is the one with a cylinder instead of a slide. The 10th thing's about the future, and it's the one that proves the 357 Magnum isn't going anywhere. The 357 SIG was designed as a rimless, semi-auto compatible cartridge that duplicates 357 Magnum ballistics from a 4-inch barrel. It was adopted by the Secret Service, the Texas Rangers, and a dozen state agencies. It exists because the 357 Magnum's performance was so respected that the industry tried to build a semi-auto version of it. They succeeded ballistically. But the 357 SIG never caught on commercially. The ammunition costs too much, and the platform options are limited. The 357 Magnum is the performance standard that other cartridges try to replicate. The 10mm tries to match it in a semi-auto with more capacity. The 357C tries to match it in a smaller package. The 327 Federal tries to match it with lower recoil and an extra round. All of them are reactions to the 357 Magnum. None of them replaced it. 91 years after Douglas Wesson shot a walrus with the prototype, the 357 Magnum is still the benchmark. Still, the standard against which every new Magnum cartridge is measured. And still sitting in more holsters, more nightstands, and more lever actions than any of the cartridges designed to make it obsolete. The gun in your safe is older than your opinion of it, and it knows more than you thought it did. Subscribe.